start whenever you are ready. Yeah.
Okay, great job, Grace. Yes. Wonderful. It's not an easy piece to play through. It's such a powerful work, right? Yes. Do you get tired playing? Do your muscles, arm muscles?
At the end.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. So before we jump into working on this work, could you share with us a little bit just how you envision this work? What are you thinking of like musically of this piece?
So I thought it was like a march, and like at the beginning, at the end, it's very heroic, and
Uh-huh.
like it's very really powerful, and it's sort of like when like the soldiers are marching, and in the middle, I thought it was more like kind of like thinking, like having like thinking about something, like maybe thinking about like their homeland, and
Mhm.
like there's like it's like there's a lot of feelings in that middle part.
Great, 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 Grace. I love it. I love the marching village, the marching theme with the soldiers, right, coming in the outer parts and in the middle section. I love how you described it. It's this sentiment. It's a very sentimental part, and Rachmaninoff, in fact, when he moved away from Russia to New York, he was indeed missing his homeland a lot. So I think that would be a perfectly fitting image to think about. And I personally, this was one of the pieces that I studied when I was around your age, and I remember breaking my first string on the piano, playing this piece. So I have a lot of great memories associating with it. And I always imagine this march because it begins in such a soft dynamic, right? And I picture that's when the marching is really distant, in a great distance, and we definitely can't see them yet, and you could barely hear them. And as the piece progresses, they come closer and closer to us, and then we get to this celebrate part where we can see the splendor or the cannons, right, firing very close to us. And then we move on into this middle section where the music gets very personal, because the outer part, the march, is like a procession. It's watching a marching band come and go. But the middle section is the protagonist singing his love song to his country, right? And in the end, I feel it's the opposite of the first section. The music is going away from us. So the marching band is marching away. And in the end, we have this last few measures that's in pianissimo, and everything just disappears, right? So I would like to try with you a little bit in the beginning. So to create that very mysterious atmosphere, especially in the opening two measures, right away bring us into your story. That's something very distant, so less present and less concrete. Oh, yes. Okay, now you're okay. Well, I can see more of you now. Yes, that's good. So try something that's very intense, but very far away, less concrete. So and then it grows closer and closer. Let's try that. Yes, Grace, great job. I like the dynamic. It's much softer now. But another thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot after your playthrough is because it's a marching, right? It's a march. And so much of this piece is drama and excitement lies with the rhythmic intensity or the rhythmic precision, right? So the more precise we are with the rhythm, the more music is going to be more powerful and more exciting. And also that would give a better contrast to the middle section where we are much freer in there. And to do, you know, the rubatos and everything. But I would recommend in the outer sections, really very, very tight with the rhythm. Let's try one more time. Be careful, the 16th notes, very precise. Yes. Very good. Let's try one more time. Let's bring the character a little bit even more. So as if you are a little bit scared, not sure what's going to happen. Instead of you're very confident already in the beginning. Let's try less confident. So as if you're still kind of a little bit, yes, let's try that in the open. And you can continue for a little bit more. Yes, much better. I'm not sure if it's the connection. I hear a little bit rushing where you just ended, but maybe it's the internet. I like the beginning much better now. So once we get to the third measure and we have these 3-note upward gestures coming in, I think this is something different. It's already hinted here, right? We have this here, but very brief. But now this 3-note figure becomes prominent. We have more of this. So right away, when we have that figure, really enunciate every note. Yeah, sometimes I miss the second note a little bit. Let's try maybe one more time from the very beginning. Very good. Maybe continue a little bit more, Grace. Yeah, where you just. Yes, I like this part. This part is kind of something a little bit disconnected from what's happening before, right? A new phrase coming in. And this part, we mostly have a lot of 8th notes. Just make sure the 8th notes, when we don't have the 16th notes, we still keep the rhythm really held. Could you try this phrase one more time? Just make sure the 8th notes are, yeah, you're not letting them go. Yes. Yes, much better. Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit to the next section. And this is when the march comes very near us already, right? So we see all the splendor. So this part, try with this chord, this is the part where it requires a lot of strength from us, right? So make sure the chords, your hands, this is solid, right? And on the keys, and bring the sound out. So really use the whole upper body to produce a very grand sound you want. Much better now, Grace. And I love how you differentiated how each phrase is a little bit different and with these nuances. I love it. I think to dramatize or to maximize this drama in this part, I would recommend really bringing the bass in the left hand a little bit more. So when we have this, and another little thing just to be aware be careful. It's the, even though this is not the melody, but this this rhythm is the character of the march, right? And it's prevails the whole piece. So really to keep this figure, the rhythmic motive really tight. And this part is where you could bring out the bass of the left hand a little bit more, and then jump to the left hand, right hand. So we get the full range. Student before was working on the Chopin Nocturne. I don't know if you were watching. These two are two of my favorite romantic composers, but we can see how this texture is so different, right? In the Chopin, you must have also played a lot of Chopin, and you can feel this, the texture is very sparse, right? It's the melody and accompaniment, but in this Rachmaninoff, enjoy this full sonority. So really bring out the tops and the basses more to feel this full range of registers. Yes. Yes, very good. Very good. Grace, I'm going to skip, just mention one spot, a similar spot in the recapitulation in the return of this part. Just be careful. You have this part. When this part comes back in the return of the piece, just make sure we have the same rhythm. I think you have the memory of playing this part in the opening with this tempo, and in the return, I think we didn't quite recover to the same tempo, and we had all of a sudden a speed up, is like a speeding up from. So just make sure the tempo is completely consistent. So the more held and without going forward, the more strength we get. Okay, could you play just a little bit of the middle section? Yes, I love it. I love the left hand and the expression in the right hand. Again, this is this full range. This part is such a breath of fresh air compared to the outer sections, right? Because this part we are into this rhythmically much freer place. So we are allowed to be more creative with our rubatos, right? Let's try one more time, really exaggerate the phrasing. I could hear it, but I think we could exaggerate it a little bit even more. And the phrasing is so creative here because we have a 1.5 measure, and then we have a 2-note slur, as if that's, I think Rachmaninoff marks it that way to, 2 parts to this 2-measure phrase. As if the 2-note figure is a sigh. So really the first this is a kind of a relaxation, and it's a sigh. And as if like the first part of the phrase is like you missing the country and you want to go back, right? With this eager and grand sense of space, but this is the, but I can't. This frustration and disappointment. So let's try a little bit of that. Very good, Grace. Very good. Let's try one more thing. I love it. I love this. I love you took a little time there. I think one more last thing we could try is really go to the middle of the measure. Here. Feel this bass and this harmony. Really, it's the most intense. And this, it's also cool. It's not ending. Yes, let's try that phrase one last time. Very good, Grace. And here, where you just stop is where we go to the G minor. And I think this part, and this time, instead of a two measure phrase, we get a four measure phrase, really. Well, longer phrase, I think 3 measures. So this time, I think we can start from really enjoy this modulation and start from something. We have this flourish, right? It blossoms, and then yet it still falls back down. Could you just try this part a little bit? Yes, maybe play on a little bit more. I love to hear the inner voice one more time. Very good, Grace. This part is so beautiful because another voice joins, and now we have this dialogue between two voices, right? It's so difficult because the middle voice is kind of stuck in this very dense texture, right? Could we try one more time? Just leave out the upper voice, just play the middle voice, and just let us fully enjoy that middle voice. Very good. Yes, very good. I love it. I think this time when we play it through, I really hear this beautiful line through in our head. And when we put them back together, I think it's a great exercise that we just did. And when we put together, we were still able to carry these lines together and just hear them kind of weave through. But each line is, we're singing through each line. Could you try this part together one time? Very good. Yes, very good, Grace. Yes, I think I'm gonna touch one last spot in this piece with you. Is I find one of the most magical moment is, or the most intense, thrilling moment of this work is how he transitions out from this middle section back into the march, right? That's also the harmonically most imaginative and creative part of the piece. So, and that's also where the lowest dynamic was marked. Here. And then we have this poco a poco accelerando, gradually speeding up to tempo primo, right? So could we try that part and maybe from the last measure of the middle section, and really here sink down to the lowest point, so low on the keyboard. But there's this, yeah. No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes, so maybe continue a little bit until the tempo primo. Transition. Yes. Don't crescendo too soon. Very good, Grace. I'm sure it was the internet breaking up a little bit, but I think it's good for here to really make this accelerando a very thrilling kind of a note by note crescendo. So a note by note accelerando. So each eighth note is getting a little bit more and more compressed until we get back to this tempo primo. And here we make sure we really get back to the full speed. Otherwise, we don't get too much chances after that to recover from this transition. So once we get there, we should think this tempo. And once we get to that tempo and we keep it steady throughout the piece, I think that way we will make the piece really dramatic and really effective. Well, thank you so much for playing. I think that's all the time we have for tonight. Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Grace. Great job.